The Sporlan division of Parker Hannifin proudly sponsors the Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. Contaminants like water, acids, sludges, and varnishes may react with compressor windings, leading to compressor burnout or cause copper plating, which reduces bearing clearances, or poor valve seating, eventually causing failure. Or they can deposit in the expansion device, restricting flow or proper modulation of thermostatic expansion valves. Loss of superheat control will lead to lack of cooling if the evaporator is starved, or even worse, flooding of liquid back to the compressor, causing bearing washout and eventual compressor failure. Installing a properly sized, high-quality, time-proven Sporlan catch-all will ensure contaminants are captured before they can harm the new system components. Ask your local refrigeration wholesaler about the Sporlan catch-all filters. Parker Sporlan, leading the charge.
You're lucky. You're really lucky.
I don't really care. If it would have shot off and hit the ceiling, it would have been fine. would have been the first valve I shot across the rack room.
Why? What else have you shot across the rack room?
No, besides Schrader cores, valve heads, CDS valve heads.
Schrader cores I get. Just see the whole valve head, because that's probably a pretty big valve, right?
Yeah, just don't put your face above it. Schrader cores will go right into your skin. I had one go to my bone.
What?
Yeah, my forearm. One of the guys shot a core out, and it went through the armo and on the receiver next to us. It went right into my arm, stuck in my bone. We pulled it out of the perineal nose, though.
That's amazing. Just utterly amazing. Good afternoon. What's up?
I've said I've watched the CO2 ones go right through the drywall.
Yeah, I guess if you have a couple 100 pounds of pressure, what's going to do that? So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. You're the host, Brett Wetzel and Kevin Compass. You sound beat.
No, I'm just exhausted. Been sleeping good.
Why?
Just a lot going on, and then it's just back hurts, so I can't sleep. Getting old.
Now you know how I feel every day. You were bitching about did you finally get new boots?
No.
Unbelievable. No. If you get new boots, maybe your back wouldn't hurt.
Maybe. So what are we doing?
I don't know. I want to hear about the rest of your day.
Nothing. It was boring besides my adventure changing that three-way valve, which I don't know what the hell, if something was stuck in it or what, because like I got it to move finally today when it had no pressure on it. I got it to move, but in the rack it wouldn't do shit.
So how about when you rebuilt it?
Oh, when I rebuilt it, it was fine. But when I took it off, I could drive it open and close with an SMA. But it wouldn't drive in the rack when there was pressure against it. It just sounded like stripped gears.
Really?
Yep. Then it was stuck. It wouldn't do anything. Hooked the same cable up to that I have in my SMA and with the flipped wires, and it wouldn't do shit on the rack. It was fine.
There was any slag or anything?
There may have been something in there, a piece of stainless, piece of God only knows what. Did
you blow it out then, I guess? Like after? Just to make sure nothing was like hanging out there?
It came out when I was taking the valve head off. So
whatever was in there, or just the valve in general?
Whatever was in there probably blew out when I pulled the valve head.
Sweet.
So What about you?
Nothing. Very uneventful. I'm going to somewhere cold next week. I'll talk about it next week, but there's going to be some lake effect snow, and I'm not really.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is. It's right off the freaking thing.
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
They don't even get lake effect snow hardly compared to what we do.
It's right off Erie. right off Erie.
That's the loser lake.
If you still drive, if a bunch of those people in the area still drive a snow machine, as they say, around
No,
to get
they
to work,
don't.
all right, whatever.
It's not Wisconsin.
In Pittsburgh, they do. Upstate New York, up and around that area, all over the place.
That's upstate New York. This is the Midwest. It ain't Wisconsin or Illinois or Indiana. Indiana just gets absolutely pounded with lake effect snow.
It's amazing. I'm just not looking forward to it. I don't think I have.
You have a coat?
Do I?
It's probably some nerdy coat.
No, it has other words on it that I got to get rid of. I think I need a new coat. I'm fatter than what I was.
Oh, I can't wait to hear you bitch about the cold. 35 degrees up here. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna die.
No, it's been like 40 and 35 up here. It's just I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm just gonna say that. I know Greg said something, so did Dylan. They were like, yeah, we're all waiting to hear you just utmost bitch about everything. They're waiting for me to have a meltdown.
That's what you do every time you go into town.
Bullshit. Do not. And you guys were also talking about my girly hands again. Thank you very much for that. So anyway,
hands.
What's that?
You do have soft hands.
I do have soft hands. I hate you all. All of you. You all suck. I don't know. So I figured we'd talk about some Danfoss stuff. Like there's a valve driver that they're using a lot, whether it be, I've seen it in Kaiser Warren racks. I've seen it in Zero Zone racks. You've seen it in other racks too as well, right?
Yeah.
That Danfoss controlled.
Carnot racks. I mean, Hill Phoenix uses them. It's used as a valve driver a lot for stuff. So you get the EKE controller that it could be used for superheat control, could be used for slave valve driver. That's where I see it used a lot, is for a high pressure valve driver, where they're just sending in a 0 to 10 volt signal and it drives open or closed. And it's honestly a great little driver. You give it an enable signal and it closes the main switch, and then you give it a 0 to 10 and tell it how many steps it has, and away it goes.
Let's talk about it. So I'm bringing it back up because I hit the wrong button. But this is let's open this up a little bit better. So this is the EKE program that they use is called Cool Program. So there's one of two ways you can program this. If you have the actual display, you can program it in the field. If you don't have the display, then you're left to your own devices. They have this thing called a MYK. It's essentially a gateway, and that's what I'm hooked up to right now. It's like you have to use a USB to some kind of old cable that attaches to it, and then you basically hook up where, like, the phone cable that you would have hooked up to this, hooked up to that gateway, and then you can actually bring up everything in here. And so you can see up on the screen, you have right now, it has that main switch, just like the pack controller, where it's either on or off. See, if you have it in the on position, I can't change any of the parameters. In order to actually change any of the parameters, just like the pack controller, you have to have it in the off position. See, now I can change it to either superheat control or I can change it to valve driver. One of the nice things about this, if I can get it to do it now, if we go down to service, right now you can see there's an actual superheat and there's an actual pressure. What I couldn't figure out how to do before, and I don't know why, there was something in here that actually was telling me that I could program it for English units, and then when I tried it, it yelled at me and then didn't want to do it. So I don't understand. I did change it before to not be Kelvin and bar, but for some odd reason it's not in there. I thought maybe it was in the display, and maybe that's why it wasn't doing it. But like I said, if you go down here to service, you can see I have some potentiometers hooked up. So as I turn this right where my mouse is at, you should see the pressure change. We're at 6.69, 11 bar, so on and so forth. So you can see that change. And so that's, like I said, that's what I have hooked up essentially doing a pressure transducer. And then I do have a temperature sensor on there for the actual line temperature as well. Do you want to go through the programming for the superheat control first, and then we'll roll through and see what we do with the valve driver?
Sure. You're going to have to cover a little bit of this because I am not good with this unless I'm right in front of it, using
Gotcha.
it.
So PE correction, I'm assuming this is going to be the offset because it looks like I can do -10 to +10. So this would be essentially, I believe, an offset. For that, like I said, we have the main switch off because otherwise it's going to want to run and then won't do anything. Control basics, startup mode, proportional. So the nice thing about this, I believe when I was doing this, it gives a whole description of what the hell it is, right? So proportional control, this controller automatically programmed for the automatic proportional. OD will change fast based off the TE and the superheat. And so you have a definition with every single thing that you're doing. So startup mode, fixed during startup time, proportional startup, normal superheat will start when the superheat is down. Basically, you can go through and read through every single description when setting this up. Now, unfortunately, like I said, it's in metric, so I'm struggling here a little bit because help me out here. Kelvin's someone said Kelvin's the same thing as essentially Celsius, correct?
I believe so.
Because every time I try to convert it, it doesn't work.
It always screws up when you try to convert it.
Yeah, it goes up to 486 or something like that. But I guess the difference in Kelvin is the difference in Celsius. You'd have to then figure out what X amount of degrees of Celsius is and then convert it back to Fahrenheit until I figure out how to actually switch it up. Superheat min, superheat max. I don't know what superheat TN is. What's that? Integration time for superheat control. This value is increased for regulation becomes slower. Oh, okay. So it's basically, I guess that'd be like integral probably, right?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Superheat KP min, dampening the amplification near, setting damps the normal amplification, but only just around the reference. I don't know what that means, so I'm gonna have to look more. Minimum OD, minimum minimum value. I don't know if that's minimum. No, that wouldn't be minimum valve percentage. During superheat control, OD can have a minimum value. This can be useful to overcome a undefined open sequence. I don't know what that is. OD. I'm gonna have to do some more research. OD is that would be down in the valve configuration, so I don't think that is, unless that's the minimum. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. Control advanced, superheat function, superheat close set point, superheat close TN divide, KP factor. So this is all like how to actually tune it to, I guess, where it's going to be more aggressive and less aggressive. You have the MOP function here. So using this for CO2, you could utilize that, or even on a regular conventional system if you're doing cases and you're trying not to take out your compressor. In this instance, it's set for 20 degrees Celsius. LOP, lowest operating pressure. So I guess you could have it stop. When would you have that do? When maybe if you lost a shit ton of gas and you don't want it to clamp down, so maybe you stop losing gas.
Yeah, you could use it for that.
What do you think are the reasons why we might use it?
What is it again? Pressure?
Lowest operating pressure.
Oh, maybe if it's flat, maybe closed. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. What the S3C does, where if the pressure goes stupid low, then it lops it off and makes sure so you don't have to pull a whole damn vacuum on the store, right?
Yeah, that would be useful.
Yeah, or to, I guess that would be the only thing that I can think of, like why that would do that. Compressor speed feed forward function. Depth superheat reaction, compressor speed encase the low speed superheat control. I have no idea what that is. Information on the compressor speed is fed via bus 0100. I don't know if this controller has an output, like for essentially like compressor speed. Like if it was doing like a self-contained or something, like where it has whatchamacallit, the very speed compressor that you can speed up and slow down. One nice thing about this is, so if you hit on view more when you're in here, it'll actually bring up the whole damn manual on this thing. So you can look up some of the parameters. So one of the things I was curious about just right now is seeing if it actually has an analog out. So it has digital output, digital inputs, analog inputs, battery backup. So no, it doesn't. It has not had no analog output. That's what I was wondering if it had. See if it would be able to control like basically a compressor. It does have communication, like it has a CAN bus, but I think that's just for basically this controller right here. I don't know if it can communicate to anything else. This one also can have the battery backup, so we can actually close it, so we don't need a power cap or whatever. 100 sol digital input. Yeah, and the sensor is actually configurable, so you can actually, you don't need to use a whatchamacallit, a PT1000 on this. You can actually change it to a 10K, and there's a couple different options in there. I'll show you here in a minute. But basically here you can actually go through the whole damn manual and show exactly where everything is on here. Stepper valve, digital output, battery, there's your power. This is what I'm hooked up to right now. This is the gateway right here. So you either hook up the gateway directly to this. 99% of the time you should have this thing right here. The nice thing about having the gateway though is that I can pull the program back for whatever controller that's out there, like that's already programmed, and one, go through the program, but two, also then if you have one that's totally different, you know that this valve is used for a valve, or this controller is used for a valve driver, I could essentially program that exact one for another valve driver that we have out there. You know what I mean? So we have that option as well. Have you ever seen this valve? I've never seen this. They show this a lot, but have you ever seen this one?
No, I'm convinced it doesn't exist.
Really?
Like, it looks like a filter dryer.
It does, but it's not. It's an expansion valve. Look at the pretty little sight glass on there.
I mean, that's cool if you're into that kind of thing.
Anywho, so the installation instructions, blah 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 blah. It doesn't actually take that much VA. I think the whole thing on there is like an 8 VA or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, so you can actually bring up the manual on here as well. Control heat pump. I have no idea. Heat, superheat. Yeah, I'm not even going to attempt to go through this because I don't know what they're going to be controlling this for. Obviously, heat pump, but I don't know. I have to call Chris or Yoder. Defrost sequence. So we can actually do a defrost on here because you have an additional digital input in that. Defrost end time. You could also probably use it for a valve reconfiguration as well. So how you have every so often you have that a lot of the drivers that close every, I don't know, once every day or once every week, just to make sure they go back home so they don't come out of calibration. Let's see, MOP delay, battery alarm, superheat high differential, superheat low differential. So there's an alarm set of contacts on there so you can actually deal with that. IO configuration. So let's see. So AI, so that can be used for external reference. Oh, you can use the digital input as like the switch. So I guess if you had, if you had, let's say you have an iPro driving this, right? And you lose power, you could essentially close your set of contacts on the valve driver to actually close this thing off. I guess that's when it would probably be used. Let's see, DI configuration, defrost start, preset OD. I don't know what that is. What's that? Say dry contacts, present for OD. I still don't know what OD is. Heat, cool, dry contacts, set or heat or cool mode, and then power backup. Same thing for that set of DIs. And I guess the digital output you can use for max capacity, which I don't know what that would be. But you can also apparently use it for a liquid line solenoid as well. I guess when would you use that? Maybe if you don't have the battery backup for it. If you had a liquid line solenoid right before the bipolar valve.
Yeah, you could use it as that. That would make sense.
I don't know what else you would use it for. Liquid line solenoid valve. If flow is needed if needed and contact is made on common and normally open, and I still don't know what that max capacity is. I'm lost on that. Sensor configuration. This is where I was saying you could make it. This is S2. This is basically the one for the suction line. You have this 10K. You have this 10K. EKS 221. I don't know which one that is. Do you think maybe that might be? What is that one? Is that the high temp one, Kev?
Maybe. I have no idea. I'm not real good with the Danfoss parts.
Here, I'm gonna look now. So what did I say? EKS 221. I'm just curious. EKS 221. I'm assuming, but maybe it's probably the high. Nope, that's not it. What? I'm wondering if that would be for the high temp, like if you're using the whatchamacallit for the heat mode. Danfoss 100 ohm. Blah 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 blah. 10,000 ohms, 25 degrees. Looks like a Corel sensor, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. It's a 10K NTC. Thermoplastic tip. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't give the temperature range. Or the, yeah. I saw some documents. Nope. Related? Nope. No. I don't know. I thought I saw something when I was bringing it up that it was up to 130 degrees, 120 degrees Celsius. Yeah, where is it? Yeah. Negative 50 to 120 degrees Celsius. Or it may, yeah. So that is pretty hot then. Let me go back to here. PE transmitter in, min, and max. So this is where you'd set your range of whatever your pressure transducer is. And then once again, here's your range of pressure transducers. So here's your AKS 32R, AKS 32 1 to 5, OEM voltage. Oh, okay. Wow. So in a pinch, you could actually put whatever pressure transducer you wanted in here then. So let's see, 0.5. 0.5. Please enter a PE volt low minimum. Yeah, I'm trying to do that. Oh. No, it's not letting me go much higher. Oh, that's weird. 6. Nope. 4 maybe? Oh, okay. Yeah, I should have probably read the min right here. So it won't let you go any lower than 0, but that's weird that it won't let you go like 0.5. Oh no, I just didn't have the other one there. So you could do a CPC pressure transducer in a pinch then. No shit. Valve configuration. So this is where you can select whatever. So ETS valves. That's probably the funny one. Looks like a filter dryer. KVS. There's your CCMT. They don't have the L in here though, so I guess they don't use this on the light controller. Have you ever seen one of the real small CCMTs?
Yeah, like the real small ones we.
Yeah. What are they used for?
Mini racks or expansion valves.
Okay. CCM. So you have the CCM and the CCMT and the CTR. I wonder what that one is. Yeah, so unfortunately, it doesn't look like it gives you the availability to do some kind of, oh, wait, yeah, it does, user defined. Cool. So you can use whatever type of valve in here then. So there's your bipolar, unipolar. And then that's where you put your milliamps in there, the amount of steps, valve speed, steps per second, valve start speed, valve emergency speed, blah, 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 blah. Oh, so you can put whatever valve on here that you want then. Convenient. AI for low bypass bandwidth. I have no idea what that is.
Today's episode is sponsored by the RefRushield RDP Series differential pressure monitors from Westermeyer Industries, now available for transcritical CO2 systems in addition to other common pressures and refrigerants. When the filter element of your coalescing oil separator is contaminated, it can hurt your system's performance and efficiency. But how do you know when it's time to replace that filter? Wait too long to replace, and you could end up with a nasty filter blowout. But replacing too often can be a waste of time and money. The answer is installing a differential pressure monitor. The RDP Series differential pressure monitors, including the new transcritical CO2 model, are available now from Westermeyer Industries. To find out more information, email sales@westermeyerin.com. That's WESTERMEYERIN.com.
I think that's...
Hello. What's that?
Never mind. I thought it was something else. I've never got this in depth with this. Usually I use this for a valve driver. You change 4 settings and slap the thing and it takes off.
We'll do that.
Scary.
Hold on. So logout time, backlight. So all these menus right here are for this thing right here. Basically the display. And then communication, CAN bus, signal sharing. Local sensor is not shared. Oh, so if you do this on, then it'll actually be able to share whatever it's reading here through the CAN bus back through whatever controller that's there. Let's see, service. So this is what I was playing around with before. So you can do your actual superheat. This is what I was trying to show you before, but I couldn't freaking find it. PE evaporator. Basically, your pressure in your evaporator and your suction pipe. So if you go up to here and do the graph, bam, and then you can start. And now it's going to sample anything that that the controller is doing. So you could actually graph it.
I hate that none of these mini controllers don't have a stupid memory card in them and at least save like a couple days worth of data.
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible or not. I guess you don't. Yeah. I wonder if you would CAN bus, like going back to what I was showing before, I'm sure if you CAN bus the data for the pressure transducer and that going back, then you could have it logging on that controller, right? Kind of like how you do on the pack controller, yeah?
Yeah, that's basically
Would be the only other way. Label in seconds, label in minutes. 1 minute. Yeah. It does, when it starts recording though, it does fucking hold the data. Look, it's recording every second. That's crazy. All right, so you can also actually save the graph if you want to show whoever, basically save the information there. And we'll go back and finish up the programming. Evaporator, alarm relay, DI main switch off. I don't know what manual mode is. Manual mode serves a purpose for the individual relay outs. Valve off is no override. On relay, valve relay can be controlled. Going into manual mode, no output will change from the current position. I still don't know what the fuck all that means. Apply defaults. Yeah, we're not going to do that. And then enter service state. Let's see what else we got here. So we're in the service. Go to the general. Valve dim, heat, valve dim, and heat temperature difference. I'm assuming that this would maybe be for, give the design OD. Operate. Oh, maybe is that operating differential? Maybe where you could basically do maybe a heat reclaim with this.
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, give your typical temperature difference for cooling operation. Media evaporator S3 in typical condition where desired superheat is established. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some more reading, but it would make sense because they probably be the fact that they use this for a driver, right? It does have the pressure transducer. But you typically would need 2 pressure transducers to tell your differential, though. It's the only thing that throws me off. What's this valve configuration? These are all the alarms that you could potentially have. Lack of capacity, low superheat, standby mode, blah, 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 blah. So let's go back and program it the way that you can walk me through everything. once you do, if you have this controller and you're using it for superheat on multiple different units and you want to program multiple different units, you basically come up here and you can name it whatever the hell you want. Let's just do EK E1 superheat ARP, and then save it there. Takes a little bit, and once you have it, then you'll be able to actually save the settings. So if you're doing multiple of these units or multiple sites, then that way you have it. So I'm going to switch it back to valve driver. You want to walk me through that one?
So I could do it on the screen if there's a picture of it.
No. No, unless you want me to just to play I'd have to disconnect it from here and just hold this up and play Vanna White. You want me to play Vanna White? Because you can only hook up one fucking cable at a time to the thing. It doesn't have the dual power. Fuck, I probably could. Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably could have CAN busted in. So what settings are you going to tell me? So obviously whatever you're doing as far as the steps, right? So typically you have what, a CCMT 30 or a CCM 40 in there, right?
Yeah, basically all you got to do is set up your main switch, whether it's a DI.
All right, main switch right there for DI1.
So yeah, you got your main switch. You need to set it up. If you're not using a digital input for it, or I'm sorry, it would be digital output for a digital input to it.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to be set to on.
All right, so yeah, so you're using that main switch, and then you're not using this for anything. I guess the only time you'd use this for an external reference is if you were doing something like with an iCAD or something like that. Yeah. So that's the only one you're really going to set then, right? And then you
set the main switch, and then all you got to do is that's your DI for that, and your DI2 you could set for a disable, I think, too, also. So you got defrost start.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
right.
And then you're going to set up your valve configuration. So you go right there, go to your where it says CCMT 30.
Mm-hmm.
So you set it up for whatever valve you have.
Okay.
And then you should have your analog signal. It's all you need to set up next.
Right
so you got your external reference. So you just got to set it up. So if it's 10 volts is full open or full closed, you just got to set it up like that.
And that's the way you'd have it set. See, that's what
Then you give the thing a slap and a power cycle, and it's good to go.
Really? That easy? Temperature difference, valve down. So it has all this other shit, but for the most part, you're using it to drive that valve, and that's really it, right?
Yep, that's it. It's literally, it gets 10 volts, valve's full open. Gets 0 volts, valve's full closed. Switch gets turned off, valve shuts.
I'm going to hook this up to one of the drivers. I think that's going to be my next thing. I'm going to hook it up to something that's analog output, and then we can actually watch it set up. Here, let me just unplug this, and I'll plug it into the actual display. So once you're done with that, back home. And now we're back. And now I can unplug the gateway. And then I don't think we hit save, so I don't know if it's still, we're going to find out what it's programmed for. Stop screen. Go over here. Oh, that doesn't show up on the camera at all. Nope, not at all.
That is awful.
It is awful. I got the little spinning wheel of death, so I guess it's downloading everything from the controller that we put in there last, I'm assuming. But usually every single rack that has that driver has this in there, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I've been on 3 startups now where that is not in there. And that was right around the time where the iCAD was starting to disappear. And we were in the transition between the 326 and the iPro.
Mhm.
And everybody was still figuring out what they wanted to do. I had a bunch of those not show up. So I couldn't start the damn racks.
Oh, no.
Because they weren't programmed. And there's no way to program it besides that little stupid module you have that nobody has, including me. So, yeah, I have a valve driver screen in my truck now. Like I literally keep one of those blue Danfoss valve driver screens in my truck. Super handy to have those valve drivers. I've used them in pinches where I had an iPro driver die. Ended up using the EKE driver to send it a 0 to 10 volt signal. I've had those valve drivers die or on other stuff, and I've used those for a 0 to 10 volt driver. It's a good thing to have in a pinch on your truck because it's so configurable.
Yeah, imagine if you have let's just say you have an iPro driving your valves and it's driving the bipolar, right? And if you lose the valve driver itself, you still technically from the main brain have 0 to 10 to actually run it. So you're not totally shit out of water. So what you could do is basically use that valve driver in place of the other one for right now until you get your replacement. It's still doing the spinny wheel of death. It's turning. It's almost there. Like I said, it looks like a potato on the camera, so we can't really show it. I'm glad that I didn't try it. Yay. But yeah, so right now it's EKE1 start. So it's basically just showing you to turn it off or on actual stuff. I don't know if it took. That's interesting. Did you know that you can press the right arrow key and it'll actually come up with a barcode for you to scan with your phone?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no. And then if you go to the service and the password's 100, so that way you can get in there and override it. You could override the valve or override the main switch on.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get into service mode here. It's in standby mode right now. No, I don't know how to. Nope, don't know how to do it. Nope. I'm gonna have to try more buttons. Detailed status. No, right now I have an alarm and it won't turn on. So I got to figure out how do you get it into non-standby mode? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's asking for the password. 100, you say?
Yes.
Yay, logged in for daily task. Reference, alarm configuration, main switch. Okay, so that's how you actually turn the main switch to actually make it operate. Yeah, so whatever we programmed it last for, Kev, it kept it as valve driver. Does it still look like a potato?
Yeah, I can't see shit.
No, that doesn't work well. It doesn't translate well. But anyway, right now, so it took the program for whatever we did for the valve driver. So that was good.
Yeah, the thing is super simple. Like I've only seen it used on superheat in a DX application, meaning like it's being used for a superheat controller like on a 800A, and it's being used to just run a subcooler. I mainly see this used, the EKE used in a valve driver application, and it does phenomenal at it.
Mm-hmm.
It was what the 326 should have turned into instead of dying.
Now they're going to have that. See, I don't know if they're still working on that other controller that we saw at AHR, remember?
Very disappointed with the pack controller. Like you have to turn it on and off every time. You got to make an adjustment.
But that's the same way this thing is.
I know it is, because I had to do it today when I replaced that failed 3-way valve. I had to make an adjustment and I had to turn it off, which is not great when you're working on something it's not supposed to turn off.
That's the only thing I think I asked one of the guys from Danfoss. I'm like, why does it do that? I was like, just you should go turn it off. I'm like, yeah, but then it turns off everything. But that's the only thing that sucks, right? If you're trying to tune something, you want to tune it while it's running. You don't want to have an estimate of where you think it's going to be, then have to shut it down, shuts down the rack, and then starts it back up. And now it's running differently because the load is different, right?
Correct. It's just not the greatest. Not what I would pick for that.
I wonder how I get. All right, I gotta ask because there's a little sticker over the what would be the port for this thing, the MMI, and it says "Do not put that in there." So I don't know if they have.
Oh, it'll straight short it out.
Oh, I'm assuming you've done so.
Yes.
So that's why the sticker's there.
Well, you get that intrusive thought thing going, and
So what? You have to hook up the CAN bus right to it then?
yeah.
All right. I guess next time what we can do is we can hook up to the pack controller and play around with it.
Yeah, the big thing, guys, to take away from this, if you're trying to troubleshoot this, valve won't move, make sure the main switch is on before you try to do anything, because you will not, it won't open, it won't close, and won't do, it'll go right to the closed position or wherever it's set up. If it's set to be fail open or fail close, it'll go right to that position if that main switch is not on.
Yeah, and you beat your head against a rock, or the digital input is closed for whatever reason. So not only can you have the closure from the controller, but basically you can also have the digital input that Kevin was talking about for basically a shutdown, which would essentially be a defrost. Remember in the control we were going through is a digital input for the defrost. So
yeah, most of the time it's the DI1 main switch is what the shutdown is going to be, because once the main switch is flipped off, like a lot of times you see that tied into like an alarm relay for like high pressure or iPro fail or 326A alarm, it'll shut the main switch. Or a lot of times you see them wired into phase loss. So when there's a phase loss, it kills the main switch, or somehow they're interlocked to compressor proofs. So no compressor proofs, no valve running.
not good. Not good at all.
Seems like a bad idea to me for some reason. Seems like it locks you in a perpetual relief blowing thing. I will say this is a lot nicer on a 90 bar rack when you don't got to worry about that.
Beautiful. All right. If we got nothing else, where are you going to be next week?
Hopefully home.
Really?
Yeah.
Bastard.
No, we got 3 different racks starting up next week, so it's going to be chaotic.
3?
Yeah, 3 different stores, 3 different racks. No load on any of them.
HFC.
This customer ain't buying no CO2 racks. Their HF digital compressors are new for them. Which, you know what? Sometimes I appreciate it because it is so much simpler working in those stores for that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It is. It's just so much simpler, especially doing remodels and stuff. I don't got to be there at 2 o'clock in the morning to pump down loops when guys could just pump it down like a normal rack. I would much rather. I'm starting to appreciate the older stores more.
Are you really? Because it's not such a cluster where everything has to be set up perfect.
Yeah, it's, you know what? I just go in here and just set this sort valve and have a nice day. Let me adjust this sort 12 a little bit, and it's just so much simpler. So much less headaches.
Back to a simpler time.
It's just so much stuff. It's just need like startup guy to do. High level technician. It's just every single time CO2 rack goes down, it's the utter chaos.
Need a higher level tech. Level tech.
Every time a DX and the normal rack goes down, everybody's just, yeah, it's okay.
I had someone randomly call me today. They were like, hey, I got a dead screen. I'm like, okay. And they're like, how do I hook up Ultrasight? I'm like,
Listen, no, the IP, you're pretty much SO.
Well, and that's what I said to him. And I was like, hey, the only other thing that you can do is check every single speed with doing the USB to 9-pin. There's 5 different speeds that are labeled in there. So I was like, you're better off there. But I don't know.
Yeah, you can do a ping request, and ping a series IP addresses till it tells you which one it is.
He was having a hard time getting into Device Manager.
Yeah, that wasn't happening.
No.
I've been seeing a lot of customers lock the serial ports out, which I don't even have a serial adapter anymore, which really screwed me on my last MT changeover because it was RMCCs, and I thought I see my last RMCC. Yeah.
Always have one. Always.
For an RMCC.
It'll do the RMCC and it'll do the E2.
Yeah, but you need the wired adapter for the RMCC.
Oh no, that's in my other bag.
There's no way you can find that. There's no way. I would pay $50 to watch you try to find that adapter in that giant clusterfuck of wires you call organized.
You have 5 minutes?
No, I don't.
On that note,
Because you're gonna be looking for it till midnight. Because it's gonna drive you crazy.
I have it.
I hope I never see another RMCC again.
You will.
I hate those things.
Why?
Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue.
All right. Fair enough. All right, guys. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some HFC stuff next time to reminisce about setting valves or something. Who knows?
When things were easier.
When I had rough hands. All right. Talk to you guys later.